we're talking about value. Value is one of those words we use all the time. I'm creating value, I'm doing this for customers and it's valuable, whatever. We use the term. Not necessarily incorrectly, but maybe not precisely. There are two ways of thinking about value. First up, actual value. So the true economic sense of the word. Maybe the value comes from saving money. Maybe the value comes from creating new sources of revenue or production capacities that you didn't have. So it's a real economic sense of value. The other is perceived value. It's really what people feel is value to them, and it's going to be biased by their own subjective judgments and preferences. So the difference really is that actual is in some sense the objective economic value created by your product or service, and then perceived value is how your customers see that value and how they would subjectively think about it. In marketing, it tends to be perceived value is what wins the day. In other words, that's what matters more to customers and consumers. But of course, from a business standpoint, we have to think about economic value or the actual value as an essential component, but it's usually not enough. Let's think about for whom value is created. And I like to think about this at three levels, or sort of three layers, if you will. Starting with, of course, our customers or our consumers, or our buyers or our clients. The people for whom we are, or the organizations for whom, if you're B2B, we're offering our products and services. So they need to get some value. Otherwise, there's nothing in it for them. Next, layered on top of that is to think about the organization, and not just your employees and yourselves as sort of the core of the organization, but everyone else sort of in the wider organization. So that could include contractors, vendors, business partners, sort of everyone up and down the supply chain and the distribution channels. And then third, layered on top of that, is society at large. And we often don't think enough about this, but it's becoming quite popular to start to say, oh, we're creating value for society. But we need to actually put some substance into that. Societal value creation is really important and can be actually a really important competitive differentiator, but we need to be clear and precise about what that is. The next step is to think about, how do we create value? What are the different methods or approaches to value creation, and how do they function? So to keep it simple, I think about this in two ways. First up, method one, we're going to create new value. So we're creating value that did not exist before. Maybe it's a completely new product that offers something of value to customers and it just didn't exist on the market. Or perhaps it's addressing a pain point that hadn't been addressed before. It's identifying an untapped need. So that's about completely brand new value. The second method is creating more value or additional value, or sometimes we call it incremental value. And that's really going to come from looking at something that exists, sort of an existing solution, if you will, and offering a better solution. Maybe it's a radical change or an incremental change, but it's improving upon something that already exists there. So it's not a brand new solution. It's something that is going above and beyond what's already on the market. So at the end of the day, we need to care about answering the question, why are we creating value, or why do we even care? It's going to be linked in some form to return on investment, or ROI. We have to think in terms of value creation and then getting something out of it for our organization. So value, therefore, needs to inform our goals and our objectives. But this is where the idea is coming from. Goals and objectives need to be linked back to value because we need to get some return on our investment in this value creation initiative. So value creation and how this is linked to customer perception of our brands therefore also becomes important. But the broad concept here is we care about value creation because at the end of the day, that's what's going to drive the business goals and objectives.